Star Wars Geek Girls. They're geek girls that like Star Wars. And sometimes cry.
Hello, and welcome to Star Wars Geek Girl. I'm Zoe, and as usual, I'm here with Lizzie.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking about the Star Wars. We are
Yes.
hopefully going to get through 2 episodes of The Mandalorian and 1 episode of The Bad Batch today.
Hopefully. We can do this.
Hopefully. We'll see. I found out today I got into the Bad Batch panel at Celebration.
Ooh.
That's cool. Not Ahsoka or Lucasfilm Studio Showcase. It
Dang.
was what I really, really wanted, but that's okay. Bad Batch.
Was it just full?
It was the lottery, the panel lottery thing.
Oh, gotcha.
But you will catch me in that standby line.
Fair.
But
Well, at
I'm
least you
excited
got...
for the Bad Batch panel. See, I know they haven't officially announced season 3 yet, but hopefully season 3 stuff would be nice.
Yes. I think they deserve it. With how everything's been going so far.
Yes.
Everyone seems to like it, so
Yes.
maybe.
We'll talk about Mando first, though,
Okay.
since we're behind on Mando. So, Chapter 19, The Convert. Spoiler-free thoughts. I like this one. It was different than Mando usually is, but I enjoyed it. And yeah, that's really all I can say without spoilers, I guess. I don't know. Everyone's seen it by now, probably, but.
That's pretty much how I felt. I mean, I guess I like the, I don't want to say character development, but the appreciation certain characters have for certain things, even if it's not really our jam, still got to be respectful about it. But yeah, I think that's good.
Yes. So I was pulling up the Wikipedia so I could.
Yes.
See
So what do we start off with?
We start with Bo and Din. Basically, right after they get pulled, Bo pulls him out of the water.
Yeah.
And she doesn't say anything about the mythosaur. But he wakes up and he's like, "I've been redeemed." She's like, "Yeah, man, you have."
You sure have. And I was a witness. And I've also been cleansed, technically.
Yes. And so he takes a little thing and fills it with water from the living waters. So that's his proof.
Water.
I think we were all wondering, what's his proof gonna be? Is he gonna vlog this thing? Just take some water.
Yes.
And yeah, that's really it. So they fly away in Bo's ship. Because his ship is at her castle.
Yeah, because
so she goes,
Grogu was amazing and flew back on his own to go get help for him.
I somehow forgot that when I first watched the episode, and they all leave together in Bo's ship. I'm like, wait, Din, your ship, and then I'm like, oh yeah, his ship's not still there. But yeah,
they go back to her place.
Go back to her castle, but TIE fighters, obviously.
Yeah.
So they have to fight. It's a really cool fight, going through chasms and all sorts of things. It was really, I don't know what to say about it. It was really cool. It was fun.
I liked when Mando flew out of the cockpit because it reminds me of when my dad's Mando in Fortnite and he falls off of the bus in the beginning of a match. I think that's what I thought when he jumped out, but I thought it was funny.
He is the guy from Fortnite, after all.
They made Mando is from Fortnite.
Yeah, they have a really cool dogfight. I don't know what to say about it. It was just really cool. It was fun to watch. It was really pretty scenery too. cool dog fight, pretty scenery, nice times.
Yes.
And then we go to Coruscant, and Dr. Pershing, who I kind of forgot about, is like giving a little speechy speech.
Oh, well, they destroy her whole, her like.
Oh yeah, her castle gets destroyed.
home.
Her castle gets destroyed, so that's not good.
Yeah. Not really.
No, I forgot about that. Yeah, her castle gets destroyed. So, and that poor little droid she had probably got destroyed too. Poor droidy.
Yeah, her servant droid.
Yeah. Anyway, then we go to Coruscant.
Yeah.
And Dr. Pershing is giving a speech. And he has, so basically we're seeing the Imperial Amnesty Program. So like people who, were Imperials, it seems like specifically like people who had some kind of rank, even if it was like an officer or something, are getting in this program. So
Yeah.
yeah,
He's
so
talking
like,
about like his research that he did with the Empire and stuff.
yes, yeah, he seems to be campaigning because we learn later that experiments related to cloning have been outlawed by the New Republic. Where he was talking about his experimenting and how he was inspired because his mother died when she could have been saved from with some organ cloning technology, essentially.
Yeah.
Is his idea. And yeah, so they all like it has like a little like apartment complex kind of thing, specifically for people in the amnesty program. They all get like little jobs and stuff. They hang out and talk about like some of the good old days of the Empire. It's like,
it's not great.
Be careful. I mean, they were fine. They were like, oh, I like the cookies that we got.
Yeah.
And like
that, like I was worried that they were gonna be like, man, I loved just murdering people.
I miss bombing villages.
Yeah.
That was
so
really
much fun.
But
guys,
they were just like,
anyone else?
They're just like, oh, I liked flying around. I like cookies. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Maybe this isn't so bad.
They also mentioned that Moff Gideon allegedly escaped. So that's interesting. I don't know. I'm sure that is relevant later. Probably. What an interesting
Most
detail
likely.
to drop. Yeah, so.
Yeah, they talk about rumors and such.
The Kenny O'Brien's character from the end of last season. She was the communications officer, and they like hung on her for like a really long time. It felt like, and I was like, that seems like she's gonna be important later. And she is. Here she is. She's great, and I like her a lot. I don't trust her, but I also wouldn't do anything different from what Pershing did in that situation. I would do whatever she wanted. But I was like watching it. I was like, I don't trust her. She's up to something.
Yeah.
But like, also, I get it. Also, we learned days of the week in Star Wars in this episode, and one of them is Bendu Day, which I like.
Bendu Day?
Bendu Day.
What was Bendu Day?
It's just one of the days of the week.
Oh.
Just Bendu Day. That's the day of the week.
Okay.
I don't know if we have other days of the week. There's Zell Day. Is another day.
We gotta put together all the pieces.
I know, we gotta figure out how many days are in their week. That's what I'm really curious about. But yeah, so basically, so another part of the amnesty program is they all get a job in this like office, and they're like archiving data cards and stuff, sorting things.
I was curious, do you think that's all of their jobs? Is like to destroy all these cards? Or do they all have different jobs?
I don't know if they all have different jobs, but like I can't imagine like has to be so many Imperials in this amnesty program. Like they can't all have the same job. Like there's other things to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, one of the things they're doing is I think some of it. I don't know if they destroy all of it. I think because the first scene he's archiving it, and then in the second scene he's destroying it. So I think it's a mix of archiving and storing the data and destroying Imperial dangerous information. Yeah, but then later, so he and Elia Crane is the name of Katie O'Brien's character. Pershing and Elia Crane go to this like, I don't know if it was just like a, like this is just what this part of Coruscant is like, or if there's like a little like carnival going on or something. But they like had like glowing popsicles that I
I
really
like
like.
them.
I
They're
really
really
want.
cute.
I want a glowing popsicle. I'm sure they'll be at that too
Mm-hmm.
eventually. I really
Hopefully.
like them.
Because they gave us a recipe for the biscuits, but not for those.
Yes, they do give a biscuit recipe. I did not make them. I still need to make pug soup. Um, but yeah, they have glowing popsicles, and they're just like walking around, just talking about life, about Coruscant. There's also the peak of Umate, I think it is, the mountain on
At first,
Coruscant.
I thought that was like they took the peak
No,
from it. I didn't realize that like they just built up so much that that's like the
yeah,
top peak. I
no.
really thought they like took the peak and were like, here it is, look at it.
We chopped it off and put
Yeah.
it, and now it's. I mean, it's kind of just a rock, but like, you
Yeah.
know. No, and it's cool because if you read like High Republic, like in Light of the Jedi specifically, they uh they like talk about this. They talk about like the mountain of Coruscant that haven't been built up over yet, um, which is cool because now it's. I mean, I don't know if it's cool. I don't know. I'm curious about the like the old wildlife on Coruscant.
Yeah.
um, I don't I don't know how they handled that. But yeah. Um, but yeah, so um Katie Ryan's like, "Oh, you should touch the rock." And then he does it and or he reaches over to do it and a droid comes over and is like, "Stop." And they laugh and it's just a very they're having a nice little time.
Yeah. I
Um,
think it's funny that, he was scared because he was like, no, like, they will literally kill me, even though they completely wouldn't.
no,
Like,
yeah, and that's something they stress a lot in the episode. I think it's interesting. I felt like a lot of people are like, "Oh, this episode shows that the New Republic is just as bad." And it's like, no, it shows that the New Republic has flaws, but I don't think it's they're like they reiterate constantly like like ex Imperials like yeah like if the Empire won like they would just killed all the rebels so like you know
yeah.
it's a it's I think
Yeah.
it's interesting. I think the New Republic is super interesting. I really like how it's explored in the book, so seeing it like this was cool. Um, yeah, so they have that little nice time. They're just talking, kind of growing a friendship. And she kind of starts egging him on to like, because again, his cloning research is banned probably because of what the Empire was doing with it, as we're seeing in Bad Batch, and then we see eventually in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
So cloning work on cloning is banned. Um,
she just kind of like encourages him to do it, like to go
yeah,
for it. But
because
like,
he's like, well, like it would be like against the law, like it's outlawed. And she's like, well, if you think it's right, and she's kind of like, well, following orders is what got us in trouble in the first place. Um, which is, I mean, I
which
guess
is
it's an argument.
true, but also she just kept like going on. She didn't let it drop,
She was
and I
really
was like,
pushing it.
you're being sussy.
Yeah. He has a scene where he's talking to like a therapy droid, which I remember the therapy droid scenes in Alphabet Squadron, and I thought that was like a cool. I don't know, how much they were like, oh, we're gonna do this just like Alphabet Squadron. If it was like, but I was like, those guys.
Probably like just wanting to show that part, especially
Hmm.
because not a lot of people are probably reading that,
Yes.
unfortunately. But which I am part of people, so unfortunately I am not reading it. But like to
It's very
show
good.
that those things are like apparent in these
Right. Yeah,
to
because
show
it's
that they're not just a side thing.
I will say this therapy droid compared to the ones in Alphabet Squadron sucked. This was not a good therapy droid. The one in Alphabet Squadron was like actually a good, like a good, he was like actually talking. And he's still a droid, but he was like talking and like growing a relationship,
Hmm.
and this droid was very much putting the droid in therapy droid.
Yeah,
He's new. He's learning. He's still doing therapy school.
yeah, it was the worst, especially because it felt like, all these questions, like if you did say no, like I feel like that's just like obviously again, like they won't kill you, but like why, like it just feels like such a trick to say no to any of these questions.
Right. Well, he's kind of like, "Do you resent the New Republic?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "Okay."
Like, awesome. You're cool.
Yeah. Alpha Squadron Therapy Droid, way better than this one. This one's still learning.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So
Just
then
got a therapy college.
therapy. I think it's called getting a psychology degree.
Therapy college.
Therapy college for droids.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So, yeah. So after he talks to his little like therapy droid guy, he goes back to the like apartment complex. Oh, and they're like nice little apartments, by the way.
Hmm.
I know a lot of people are like,
It
oh, the poor Imperials. I'm like, dude, they're getting like free housing, guaranteed jobs.
yeah. It
Like
reminded
they
it looked
they
like
they did war crimes. Like they're fine.
it looked like Flamingo Crossing at Disney when I went to externship. It looked like obviously like the colors were different because they were like and Flamingo Crossing was more colorful. But if you just put a gray filter on it, that's pretty much what it looked
Maybe that's what
like.
they did. Maybe they filmed it there.
Honestly, I don't know, but that's what it
Maybe.
looked like. But they were nice apartments. I'm not like
Hmm.
trashing it like they were awful. No, they were nice apartments. It
Yeah.
just looked like that, though. I
I
also
think it
like their
looks
little.
nice in the show, though. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously gray filter, but
his room
it's
looks
corresponding.
nice too.
Yeah, he has a nice little room. You know.
Yeah, I like the little white buzz
Amnesty
balls they have.
Yes, yeah. Amnesty's what's it called? Amnesty system, whatever.
Program?
Not so
I
bad.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, he also meets again with Alaya, and she's like again really egging him on to do his research, and he finally gets convinced.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I would need a mobile lab station." She's like, "Oh, we'll go to the like
Easy.
junkyard with like
Yeah.
the Imperial Star Cruiser and like pull one out of there."
And he's like, "Well, how do you know?" And she's like, "Well, how do you think I got you those biscuits?"
Right,
And I was
yes,
like,
she gave him the
"That
biscuits.
makes
We forgot about that.
sense."
He said he missed the yellow biscuits, and she got
Hmm.
him a box of
She likes
yellow
the red
biscuits.
ones.
Yes.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so also like they were on the same ship. That's another thing that kind of connected them. They're both under Gideon. So they're like,
Yeah.
but they're both like, "Oh, I really regret it." But they're like, "Well, if your research is important." Um, yeah, so basically they go to they like get in little like normal clothes because they've been wearing these like amnesty program uniforms. They get in like normal clothes and they go and they like take the subway.
Hmm.
um and I thought it was funny. I was like, yeah, that's what the subway's like. Star Wars 2022-2023 is all about realistic portrayals of public transportation.
Hmm. Okay, but when he sat down, he did not check for needles. He did not
No,
check for
he
needles.
didn't.
He
He
could have
didn't.
get stabbed with a needle.
Rookie mistake. Rookie
Exactly.
mistake.
Could have got that whole show would have ended right there.
Oh dear. You're right. He did not check for needles. Also, we learn another day of the week called Tongs Day. She goes, Tongs
Yeah.
Day, am I right? I was like, yeah, Tongs Day.
I like the guy that was waving at them. He was very
Yeah, it was.
nice.
I think him and that guy that sat next to um Luthen in
Oh,
Andor. I think they should
yes.
ride the train together.
Hmm. I feel like he's a great listener.
Yes. Um, I keep clicking on the days of the week to like, oh, all the days of the week are named after species or someone that used to be on Coruscant. It's interesting. Wonder if these are like just Coruscant days of the week?
I think
Are these
so. That would
galactic?
make sense. It's like a, uh, or maybe just like in that language, in like
Man,
basic.
scheduling a Zoom call across planets must be so annoying. It's
Yeah.
already annoying. I'm like, ugh, 3 hour time difference. This is so annoying scheduling this. But can you imagine different planets? It's
Hmm.
gonna be a nightmare. Or like, what if someone's in space? What day is it to them? We track days by spinning the planet, or years by going around the sun. If you're just in space, what is time?
Hmm. I don't know.
It's gotta be
I
rough.
I I unfortunately I technically have or going to have a technically science degree, but it is not the correct science that you're looking for.
Wrong science.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, all those podcasters in the galaxy far, far away are struggling.
Yeah. That's why
Um,
they probably had to pay money to like bring them there that way that like at least in the same time planet area.
yeah. Anyway, they're on the subway and they like basically hopped the thing, like they did not pay for their subway ticket.
Yeah.
Um, so when some droids come through looking for their tickets, they leave and they're like it's a little like mini chase almost. They're like going through the carriages until they get to the very end and they jump off. Um, and yeah, they get into the ship and they um walk into the like they
The
find the lab
giant.
basically. They find the
Yeah.
stuff he needs.
Mhm. It's
Um
creepy though cuz it's all like run down and
yeah,
like
it's
being taken apart.
dilapidated and like rattling and yeah. Um but yeah, he gets all the stuff he needs for a little mobile lab and then they're leaving and then boom, New Republic soldiers show up and they arrest him and he's like, "Wait." And Elias like, "Caught you, bro." And it's like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
she's working the New Republic? That was not what I thought." That's not what I thought she was gonna betray him. I mean, I knew she was gonna betray him. I just didn't think it was
I feel like
New
that's
Republic.
so dumb though. Like how could that's like I'm like when that happened I was still like what? That's like so not fair. They like the New Republic even knows that she was setting him up. So
Right.
like what?
And
That's
it's
so
so
rude.
yeah, and they like
That's rude.
yeah. So it's like I don't know if she like called it in, she's like, "Hey, he wants to do this. So I'll take him there just to see how
Mhm.
far he's gonna go and then you can arrest him and we'll see." Right?
Sneeze.
Um
Mhm.
yeah, so then he wakes up on like a table and they're like, "Okay, we have this thingy. We know it's hard for you, like switching over to the Republic. Like we know Imperial indoctrination can be really hard. So we have this thing called a whatever.
Definitely
Um,
not scary.
yeah.
It's you're gonna be fine.
Well,
Totally.
yeah. He's literally like, yeah, like I did this. Like I do this. It's nice. It's relaxing. You know.
Mhm.
Because at first
But
you're like,
he's like,
this is
no, this
weird,
is what the Empire used to erase people's minds.
right? And but then he's like, oh, like it's fine. Like the low settings are what we can use to like help soothe and like stuff. So I mean, the guy said like, oh yeah, I did this. So yeah.
Yeah.
So they go
So it's
in
all
and
cool.
they turn it, put on thing, they turn on low, and he seems like fine. He's like, oh, this
Yeah.
is kind of nice, you know. I want to be
Well, not
a little
that
bit of
I
that.
thought that he was lying, like that guy was lying, but you know, I was like, oh, okay, he seems like he's enjoying himself.
Yeah, it's like, all right, this is fine, this is cool. Because at first I was like, the New Republic shouldn't, like, they're not torturing people. I was like, they're flawed. Don't get me wrong, New Republic's flawed, but they're not really. That's not really them. And it wasn't, Um, so yeah, so he's like chilling, having his thing. Elia is like, "Oh, can I stay? He is my friend." And then okay, um, and so they leave, and it's just her and him, and she
I trust you.
cranks up the thing, and he starts like
Oh my
screaming.
goodness. Yeah, and no one heard. No,
No,
like,
to be fair, I wanted to say this because a lot of people are like, oh, well, if they're not using it to torture, then why does it still have the higher setting capable? And it's like, because there's different species who might need the higher setting. That's all I'm gonna say.
that's fair.
Don't ascribe malintent. There's so many
Yeah.
different species. They need so many things. Why you gotta assume the worst?
Why did the doctor give me so much pills in this bottle if it could kill me? Like, well, because there's different
Because you take
doses.
them over time. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I just want to say that. I think the New Republic is flawed. That's why it's interesting. But I'm also a little bit of a New Republic defender. Like they're trying, man. They've been a government for
I
five
mean,
years.
yeah, I was gonna say it's a new government. As long as they're not the at this like the bar is so low.
The bar is
Like,
very low.
like as
Um,
long as they're not doing those kinds of things, it's fine. Just leave
like
it be.
yeah, that's why. Like again, I think it was weird that a lot of people's takeaway is like, oh well, see, the New Republic's just as bad as the Empire. I'm like, no, the New Republic isn't building Death Stars.
Yeah.
The New Republic is not. Like, let's relax. But yeah, that's the end
It's
of
a
that.
government's a government.
So yes, it is. So I'm really interested in Elia Kane.
Yeah. What
Because
a
at first
jerk.
I'm like, oh, she's switched to the. Because at first I was like, okay, I don't trust her. She's still doing Imperial stuff. And then she like ratted him out to the Republic. I'm like, oh, is she like fully like New Republic now? And then she did that. So I'm like,
I
she's
at first
clearly
so
working for
that's pretty.
someone Imperial to me.
That's what I thought at first. That's pretty much my thought process through that. I was like, no, she's still like Imperial, and then I was like, no, maybe she's New Republic, and maybe like she's trying to. Maybe because how she was trained in the Empire, this is how she knows how to rank
Right.
up. Like that was my thought. I thought she was trying to rank up, and then she cranked that power when she didn't really need to. And I
Mm-mm.
was like,
I would say it
she's
maybe
probably
is
working for Gideon or something.
yeah, working for Gideon. I think she could also be working for Sloane. I think we know it's
Hmm.
Sloane at this time is still big in Imperial Remnant stuff. And also seeing Sloane on screen would be cool because she's cool.
Hmm.
I think people have thrown out Thrawn as well, because that would be a tie into the Ahsoka series. I don't know. I don't know if
Uh,
it's Thrawn only because like I don't
I
know how connected he is to this stuff still.
I wouldn't want it to be Thrawn because
No, I
I
would.
still want to know what happened.
Right, and I think I don't know how because like ultimately Thrawn, like if we read the novels, which I'm not, I don't know how much they're taking from those, but like Thrawn was never crazy about Empire. The Empire was just convenient.
Yeah.
So like if the Empire's not convenient anymore, it sucks. It died.
Hmm.
So I don't know why he would still be like, let's do Imperial stuff because I care about it so much.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm really curious about where they're gonna go with her. She's super
Sometimes
cool.
I think about Thrawn and I'm like, man, if he was still like with the Empire, I wonder how well like the Empire would have done.
Hmm.
And then I was like, and then I think like, how could he have like gotten beaten? And then I'm like, yeah, okay, but it's also Ezra, and he literally brought forth like a bunch of freaking whales. Like how like Thrawn could not even fathom that that was even a possibility.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
think it's
I don't
hilarious
know.
to think about
I mean,
still.
my gut is like, oh, the Empire would have done better. They might have found rebels earlier. I think like maybe less rebels would escape from Hoth if
Hmm.
Thrawn was there, but also like, and we saw this in season three, Thrawn can have the best plan, but if he's
Right.
surrounded by incompetent Imperials, which he is, because the
Hmm.
majority of the Empire is incompetent, it's not going to work because they're not going to listen to him. They're going to think they know better.
Yep.
Is ultimately like I don't know if it would have been so dramatic as like, well, if Thrawn was still around, the Empire would still be there.
Yeah. I just
Um,
think it's a funny thought
it is a
of
funny thought.
yeah.
But also, if
But
Thrawn was still around, then Ezra would probably still be around too. So,
mhm.
Thrawn
Missing
shows up
Ezra
and they're
right
like,
now.
bring out the kid who's friends with the whales.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so that's the end of that section. I'm really curious about where they're going with that. And then we go back to Bo and Din, and they're flying, and Din is like, well, since you're homeless now, do you want to come with me to
Yeah.
the Children of the Watch? Um, and so she's like, yeah, sure, I guess. So they go to, I don't even know what planet that is that they're on, but they go to their little like cave. And Bo
Yeah.
seems a little like hesitant, but they're like, oh wait, you took a bath and you haven't taken your helmet off in front of anyone?
Your
Come on!
family.
And they're like, it's so
Welcome.
interesting because like the armor before when she talked about Bo-Katan was like, boo, like not a
Yeah.
fan. Um, but oh, also, so um, she he gave her the little thing of the water, and she like poured it in a thing, and it like did a magical little thing. I'm like, that's weird.
Yes.
um, but that's how they knew it was it, and so they're like, oh, this is a way, like,
Yeah.
welcome, Bo. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, Bo is a child of the Watch
Yeah,
now.
and that's where I was like, I, she just kind of was like, "Oh,
She she
all
didn't say
right,
anything really. They're like,
yeah,
"Do you take your helmet off?" She's like, "No." And they're like, "Cool, cool, come with us." And I don't think she says anything else.
yeah." She's just,
Just
if
like,
anything, she like
okay.
looks at the,
She looks at the mythosaur symbol on the
yeah,
wall. Yeah. So Bo is a child, which is interesting because when we first met her, she was like, "Children of the Watch? You mean that cult that let Mandalore fall?" So that's interesting. I think it was Katie Sackhoff had a really good quote about it that I saw after that episode came out, where she said like Bo is like she's very susceptible to being pulled into a cult right now. She's alone. She's lost everything. She feels like the people
hmm
who she used to run with, who she used to trust, have abandoned her. Like, of course, you have these people essentially love bombing her and like, come on in, like you're a sister now, like come on, like we love you. Like, of course she's gonna lean towards that. So
yeah.
I'm interested to see how that plays out, if she's gonna become
That's
and
how cults
stay.
get you.
I know. Well, that's the thing, is she is very vulnerable.
hmm
Um, so I'm interested if she's gonna like stay a child of the Watch, um, or if she's gonna break away from that
hmm
eventually and see how, because it's interesting because it's not like the children of the Watch are like evil, like they're
No,
not like
they're just
a Sith. They're just
conservative.
like they're just not accept. They're not really
I
accepting.
Yeah, I can't
Um,
remember. I think my dad compared them to like those guys. The what are they called in real life? The the guys that are like, yeah, well, we won the Civil War. I can't remember what they're called right
Confederate.
now. Yeah. Mostly because in the next episode, they're just these conservative like people that are so
That's
stuck in their
funny.
ways.
Yeah.
And then in the next episode, they're like training and they like low key, high key suck
They're
at
not
training.
fun. Um,
But
yeah.
yeah,
No,
we'll
I think
get
the
there.
Children of the Watch are interesting because, like, and I think I said this last time we talked about Mandalorian. Like, if they want to do their traditions, if they don't, if they want to do their training, if they don't want to take the helmet off, like, that's fine.
hmm
Like, I don't do it, like, if that's your thing, that's your thing. My thing is always the more, like, you know, like, oh, you can leave at any time, but also, like, you don't really have anyone else, right? Because we
Yeah.
either, like, took you in as a child after you were orphaned, or took you when you're a very vulnerable point in your life. And,
hmm
like, oh, like, like, we're a family, we stick together, but if you break our rules, then you have to repent And
Mhm.
like Din obviously bathed in living waters, but they thought that was impossible. So they were like, well, you have to repent, except the way to repent is impossible anymore, so bye. um,
Yeah.
they're very, yeah, and I'm curious to learn more about we know Bo talked about how they like were at least part of what splintered the people of Mandalore, and kept them from really unifying and coming together against the Empire. And they played a part in that. I'm curious if we'll learn more about that, but yeah, I guess we'll go to the next episode now.
Yeah.
Oh, also
Very
this
good.
last episode was directed. The one we just talked about was directed by Lee Isaac Chung, who directed or who worked on Minari. He wasn't the director, but um and some other stuff. So it was cool to see him do it. Minari is a very good movie if you haven't seen it. Did the Minari win the Oscar, or was it just no?
What's it about?
It's it's about like an immigrant family that move to America and like have you know it's like he okay. I was thinking of a different movie that okay he wrote and directed it. But yeah, I recommend Minari. It's fun. It's not fun. It's good. It's a
Okay.
little fun. It's okay. I'm gonna stop talking. It's a good movie. Just watch it.
Oh,
It has
okay.
Steven Yeun in it, and I like
Okay.
him.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
So seeing like that kind of like literal Oscars like talent and like working on episodes of Mandalorian is really cool. The next episode is also directed by Carl Weathers, which is cool because he's
Yes.
Mr. Grief Karga himself.
My dad says that he thought that he couldn't direct anyone else but himself in
Well,
episodes.
he did not direct himself this time, so
Exactly. He did a really good job on this one. I think,
this was a very good episode. I enjoyed this one a lot.
yeah. One of my,
Spoiler
close to
free
one of my
thoughts.
favorites so far because it's just funny to see these Mandos suck.
This might this might be my favorite so far too. Maybe I liked it.
Yeah.
Spoiler free thoughts. Very much enjoyed. Cool Mando stuff. Cool Jedi stuff. Um, someone got to come back to Star Wars. Very well
Yeah.
deserved. It was not a redemption, despite what people will tell you. It was not.
I
He did not need a redemption.
People are really
We did.
bad at their words
Yeah.
and
No, I don't think
which
anyone.
words they choose.
I don't think anyone meant it maliciously, but I'm like, we do have to be careful with how
Yeah.
we word things sometimes.
It's not, yeah, well, we'll get
Um,
there. Yeah, let's talk about it.
we'll get there. Yeah, I loved this episode. Really good.
Yes.
Fun times. Uh, yeah. So we start, and their Mandos are training. They're pew pewing. They're punching. There's
Hmm.
they're like
The
having a little
kids
like
are
referee. It
training.
reminded me of like karate when I was a kid. You have you're sparring.
Hmm.
It's like point, back up, punch, point. You know, that's what it
Hmm.
reminded me of. And Ragnar, that kid, his name is Ragnar. Not Ragnar the Red
I don't
for
like
my
his name.
Skyrim fans. Oh, there
Not,
once was a hero named Ragnar the Red. You know, you don't
I
play
do not
Skyrim.
know.
Well,
I do not
if you
know.
ever want
Sorry.
a bardcore banger, look up Ragnar the Red.
Heard. Uh,
um,
I
yeah,
yeah,
his
I
name's
liked
Ragnar.
seeing the little kids sparring.
Yeah,
They
I
were
like how
cute.
all the kids have the Hasbro visors. I don't know why, it just makes me laugh because now they're
uh,
canon.
yeah,
Um,
they just have tiny little helmets.
Kind
They're
of, it's
cute.
great. I really like how now I'm thinking of this from like I grew up as a Jawa. It's like, oh my gosh, like you can have if you have like a couple who are like in the Mando marks together and they have a little kid who wants to dress up, they have like references for like what a little Mando wears.
Mhm.
And it's so cute. Um, not that they need to all match, but like it's nice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, also Grogu is like tormenting crabs
That's okay.
naturally. Um, so Din comes over. He's like, Grogu, you're gonna start training today. It's like you need to know the way in order to walk the way or something.
Mhm.
So he has Grogu. He brings Grogu over and challenges Ragnar. And Ragnar's like, he's too little.
He's too little.
He's too little. He's like, he can't fight. And Din is like, I don't remember what he says, but he's like, well, he has to learn. He's too little to speak the way, but he can learn it or whatever. It's like maybe this is a lesson for you in learning. I don't know. I forget.
They say something and it was cool and I forgot.
Din, yes, that was it. But yeah, Din.
One who doesn't know should not speak or something.
Yes. Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah,
it was good.
Something like that. Yeah, Din Djarin owns that 12-year-old. Destroy. Roasted.
Yeah. Shots fired.
So, here it is. Wikipedia quoted it. Wikipedia never quotes anything. One does not speak unless one knows.
I was close.
Yes. Very close. And Ragnar's like, well, I know. It's like,
and everyone's like, Anyway. So, and they give him tiny little
like gauntlets. Little wrist dart launcher. And Bo puts it on him and on Grogu, and she's like, my dad was the same way. Like, you'll be okay. He's just proud of you. Just cute.
Yeah.
I really like that Bo has not once questioned Grogu. She's like, oh, that's your kid? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So Got it. So, okay, what's your dad need? Oh, your dad, it's just nice to see her just, like, openly be like, oh, your dad, right? Like, I think it's cute.
I think it's interesting because Mando doesn't really call himself dad. He just says, like, guardian or
But everyone else does.
Yeah, everyone else says dad.
Yes. It's like, oh, your dad? And he's like, this is the kid. The kid. Oh no, I dropped an AirPod. Okay. Yes, so yeah, so they shoot they're like little Mandalorian paintballs. And so Grogu gets hit twice by the little paintballs, and it's so mean. He's such a baby.
Yeah.
But
he's got a little hitbox.
Yeah, Grogu. I really like Grogu's like incredulous looks at Din. He's like, Dad, like, what's happening? What am I doing?
What do I do?
He's like, what? Why are you making me do this?
Help me.
Yeah. And Din's like, it's all right. Like, just show him what you can do. You got this. So then the next time, Grogu, like, force flips around.
Yeah. Skills.
And then he lands and hits Ragnar 3 times, which I don't think was how you're supposed to, like, hit once. At least that's how they were I don't know. But Grogu just like pop, pop, pop.
Unless maybe it's like a timed thing where it's so maybe he was too slow.
I'm just like, why did Ragnar not pew pew pew? I don't know. Maybe he's stupid. That's always.
Yeah, he's dumb.
He's dummy dumb.
Well, he also probably thought that he was gonna win anyway.
Yeah, he was like, whatever. I guess I'll shoot this creature. Like, yeah, this tiny little baby. I guess I'll shoot a baby. He's like a little unsure about it. Yeah, so Grogu like pew 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 and shoots Ragnar with little paintballs. And then Ragnar, huffs off and then gets snatched up by this like
got snatched.
he like walks away and then instantly like this creature just comes.
Can you imagine losing to a little tiny baby Grogu and then getting snatched?
No,
from,
that
like,
kid is having like the worst day like ever.
Yeah. Embarrassing.
So Din starts to like he pulls his gun out, but Paz Vizsla is like, can't, bro, you're gonna hurt the kid. So they Vizsla, Din, and like some other Mandalorians like fly off after it with their jetpacks. But they run out of fuel because it goes too far.
Okay, but they suck. They ran out of fuel, and then he had the audacity to say, "Man, it happened again." I'm like, "What do you mean it happened again? What do you mean by that?"
Like, it always gets away. I'm like, how many kids have you lost?
Yeah, how many children have you lost and have not learned from?
And you're just dealing with it?
You're just like, damn, that sucks.
I know, it's like it always gets away. I'm like, what are you... How many kids do you have to lose before you go kill this thing?
Yeah, so then, Bo, smart...
pulls out with her ship.
Freaking person she is, literally, woke up in a new Bugatti. She goes and just like, she follows it carefully and she tracks it. She finds the mountain and she goes back and she's like, okay, so you guys that
She's
suck,
got a whole plan.
yeah, here's the plan. And then they're like, well, we can't climb. We can't use our jetpacks. She's like, well, just climb. They're like, we can't climb. She's like, man, you guys suck. I
I
can
know.
climb.
Well, and it's interesting because like when we saw like the covert in season 1, they were awesome.
Hmm.
Remember they like flew over and like it was like, oh
Well,
yeah,
there's
but
also
then
a lot of them, so it doesn't.
yeah,
Not that it doesn't take like it's. If you're good a little bit and you have other people that are good a little bit,
well, the
like
thing is,
it could
there's
work.
also a lot of them now too. But I think the difference is the Mandalorians we saw in season 1 were probably for the most part raised with the way, right? And that's why they're like good. Where I
Hmm.
think they rebuilt this covert so fast.
Maybe they're
Like a
maybe they're
lot of
just
them are
also
probably
bad.
like,
Go
but
ahead.
they're probably people who are like Bo, who are vulnerable, who needed a family,
Uh huh.
who were willing to do anything for that, uh, and
I
got pulled into it without being raised like a proper Mandalorian, I guess.
I also think it's. I had it and now it's gone. um, yeah, it's also just like they were fighting people, and not to say fighting people is easier, but like people can also suck at shooting and stuff, so they could just shoot them. But they're fighting nature at this point. Like they couldn't even beat the giant turtle, um, and now this giant bat. But I don't know. They're okay. She just has a lot of training. And she's just super cool, and she's a good leader. She's
Hmm.
awesome. But anyway,
So they set
um,
out. Bo has her plan, to go. So they go in the ship until they can't, and then they climb up the mountain on foot.
yes.
Is the idea, and the armor is like, you are the leader of this expedition.
Hmm.
Uh, yes.
Yeah,
So
Grogu
then we
gets left
go.
behind.
Yeah, Grogu gets left behind. So the armor takes Grogu with her into the forge to make him. First, I was like, is she making him a helmet? Like,
Hmm.
his little ears. But she makes him like a chest piece thing. That's kind of cool, but also just going under his robes. So,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, so Grogu has forge flashbacks. So we have two things that cause flashbacks. We have back to tank flashbacks, and we have Beskar Forge
Yeah, the
flashbacks.
armorer.
Um, those are our guaranteed flashbacks. Um, so yeah, Grogu essentially has his flashbacks back to the Jedi Temple in Order 66, and he's being hidden and he's protected by the four Jedi, um, who die.
Hmm.
Um, and so one of the Jedi like get Grogu, they like push him away, and he gets him into like an elevator. And the elevator door is open, and it's Ahmed Best. I was like,
Hmm.
yeah.
I
Yeah. So it's
was oh, so yeah. I saw the green lightsaber and I was like, oh my god, maybe it's Quinlan. And then it opens and it was Ahmed Best, and I was still like, ah, that's so
ah,
cool.
I
I was still
know.
like, that's second best, like equal, almost equal
I
best.
would say
Like that's still good,
it's Ahmed Best.
huh?
You said it's equally best. I say it's Ahmed Best.
Right.
But
You're right. I understand.
yeah, so he's Kelleran Beck, who is his character in Jedi Temple Challenge, which is cool. He has like the super cool robes.
Yeah.
He's like Grogu, and yeah, so
He
Ahmed
has a
Best.
cool outfit.
He has a cool outfit, cool lightsaber, and yeah, so Kelleran Beck takes Grogu and he protects him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's taking out those troopers. They get on a speeder, go on a little speeder chase through Coruscant, which is always fun. We love a good chase through
Mm-hmm.
Coruscant. Um, and then he's like, all right, we're going to go like get to my friends who can help us. And they go like through the plaza with the top of the mountain that we just saw last episode. It's like, ha, we got to reuse that set. I see you.
Mm-hmm.
um, and they land, And the friends that Color and Beck has that are helping them are Naboo security forces.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I think I've seen like a popular theory is that like Padme, because in Revenge of the Sith, we basically see her look at the Jedi Temple burning, cry, and then we don't see her again for a while. So someone said like maybe had her little cry, and then it's like, all right, I got to get my men out there and help those Jedi, which I like. That's a very Padme thing to do. So I like that
Mhm.
idea. That or maybe just Keller and Beck just knows Naboo people. Maybe he's friends with Jar Jar. That would be pretty cool. Um, but yeah, so they escape in the Naboo ship. The Naboo guards all die. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
they all
they
die.
do.
Um, but yeah, so Keller and Beck flies off with Grogu, and then that's the end of the flashback. So now I'm like, well, what happened after that?
Mhm.
Why was Grogu alone in a little fort? Um,
Yeah. I'm hoping
20
that
some
maybe
years later. Like, well, how did
we
we get here?
I hope that he gets like to meet up with Quinlan because that would be interesting because
Yeah, well, we
they
know
could.
Quinlan was helping younglings get through, so it's a possibility.
Yeah. So
It's all
I
good.
hope so. That'll be cool.
So, yeah, the next 4 episodes and maybe probably next season, if we don't, I hope we finish it because I can't wait. I hope we get to know at least many of the answers this season, but at least next season too.
Yeah.
Um, yes. So while Greg is having his flashbacks, Bo-Katan and the Mandos land, and they go and they start walking and climbing up the mountain, and they can't take their jetpacks because the like bird thing will hear them. So they have to climb.
Mhm.
Also they'd make camp one night, and Bo's like she like leaves her and she's like, "How are we supposed to eat if we can't take our helmet off?" And they're like, "Oh, we all just like go hide behind a different rock."
Mhm.
But Bo gets to stay by the fire because she's the leader of the expedition.
That's so awkward. Like it's fine, but it feels so awkward because then you can't have like
You can't have
family
dinner
time.
together. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
like I feel
like
like in like pretty much I would say every culture, like that's like a staple of life is eating together. I mean, maybe not anymore,
mhm.
but like traditionally,
Yeah.
families like eat together and like eating communally is like a thing, and they don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, next morning, they're climbing. They're climbing.
Wait,
Oh,
I think I talked about it with my dad, but I thought it was funny because I was thinking about like what if they accident like one is eating helmet off and then like another Mando like stumbles by. They're like, "No, don't look."
how
Like,
scandalous.
yeah, scandalous. Don't look at my face. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. That's why I still think it's kind of awkward. It's just a little funny thought. But yeah, sorry. Next.
Um, yeah, they climb up and they reach the nest, and they're like, okay, we need to be careful. We need to, look around, make sure everything's okay. Um, and Paz Vizsla is like, I'm going in, and he dives in. He starts like running over. Uh, and Bo is like, wait, no. And he's like, it's my son. So Ragnar is Paz's son.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's if it's like a foundling he took in, similar to Grogu, or like his son. Um,
Yeah, I don't know.
because I think they call him a foundling, Ragnar. I think they say like, oh, the foundling. We need to find the foundling or whatever. Which is the only reason I wonder, just because like I don't know, maybe they just call all kids foundlings, but I feel like foundling means you found it, right? Am I crazy?
I mean, it could also mean that they weren't like technically Mando like before.
Maybe.
I don't know. I
But
have
like,
no
would that
idea.
make Paz the foundling? Also, why wasn't Ragnar in season? Maybe it wasn't season.
Like, I mean, we probably just never saw
Never
him, but
saw him. I just
I
wonder,
do
like
not
maybe
know.
Paz found him while they were rebuilding and like took him in. I don't know. To me, I'm like, if it's a foundling, it means you found it, right?
Mhm.
That's my thought process.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Uh, but I mean, well, Paz Vizsla has to be Blood Mandalorian because he's Vizsla.
Yeah. That I
So
mean that would make sense. It's
yeah.
just like I
So
have
I
no
wonder. I
idea.
wonder if he found. I wonder if he found Ragnar. I don't know. Um, yeah, but so while Vizsla is looking for Ragnar, he wakes up the baby raptors. And they're giant babies, uh,
Yeah.
huge, huge babies. And
They're
then the mama
naked
raptor,
too.
they're naked, they're very naked. Um, the mama raptor comes back and pukes up Ragnar.
That
It's
was
gross.
awful.
I like
I
forgot that's how birds do it, and I was like, oh,
well,
that's terrible.
that's obviously how birds do it, but I thought he would be dead. Like I figured, oh, well if he's like
It
if
had
he's
to be at
not
least a
like
day, right? Because they slept
yeah.
the night at camp. So like, how long was he in that? Ugh, that's gross. Oh,
But
poor
I
Ragnar.
was just like taken aback that he was alive. Like I wonder if he was in there for a day and then like yeah, no, that's bad. I
Poor
didn't like
Ragnar,
that. I
man.
was horrified.
Um, yeah. So while Vizsla is like trying to get Ragnar, the mama raptor picks Vizsla and Ragnar up and starts flying away. So so they all the Mandos fly after in their jetpacks because now stealth is done. So they
Yeah.
fly off with their jetpacks.
That's like when I fail a stealth
Um,
mission in any
yes,
game.
and they're just like, well, pull out the gun.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, Bo gets like hit by the wing or something like that and loses
Yeah.
her one of her shoulders.
I was so
Um,
sad for her.
yes. And they manage to. I mean, honestly, the other Mandalorians are low key useless, but Bowen did manage to kind of like grapple the raptor, and Bo like just starts like stabbing it in the eye.
Mhm.
Um, and that
Yeah.
like
I they like they just, the MVPs,
yeah.
carrying the team.
Yeah, so I mean, the other Mandalorians help, like they like help like grab it a little bit, but Din and Bo do the heavy lifting, and they manage to pull Ragnar away, um,
Mando comes in flying in like to pick him up and his music starts and I thought that was
yeah,
really good.
yeah, so they manage to get Ragnar back to Vizsla and they hug, and it's nice, um,
Yeah.
they have a nice little moment, and then like the raptor like falls into the water and it tries to fly away, and then like a giant like turtle thing.
Yeah.
There's always
Grabs
a
it.
bigger fish.
Yeah, it reminded me of that and it also reminded me of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Like the no, sorry, Jurassic World.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, so
Yeah,
they
so
do that.
Bo gets everyone back in her ship and takes them all back to their little cave. And they come out and Ragnar comes out and everyone's like, "Yeah, you saved that kid, not the other ones." So
Yeah.
we lost those kids.
We'll never get them
um,
back. Yeah.
so they come
A
back
little
and
awkward, but
the armor
it's
is like,
okay.
Bo-Katan, you have done the highest honor of saving a foundling. And she's like, yeah, I also brought back some other foundlings. And they bring out the giant, like, baby raptor.
Which I don't know what they're gonna do with those, cause like what, like if they want to ride them, they need to grow up first.
Yeah.
Like unless it's like a what's it called? How to Train Your Dragon, like 3 or whatever movie it is situation where they like ride the baby dragons.
hmm
But I don't know.
They got these babies now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and the armor also makes Bo-Katan another shoulder bell. And she puts Bo asks her to put a mythosaur on it instead of another night owl crest, which is
Mhm.
interesting. And
I
Bo was
liked.
like, armor. I saw a mythosaur, like a real one, and I was like, oh, okay, that's so nice. Like you had a little vision, she's like,
Yeah.
no, like
We
like
all
I saw it.
do.
And she's like, good. It's like, okay, like that's great, good job. You saw a mythosaur. Like she did not take her seriously at all. It was kind of
Yeah.
funny and both kind of sitting there. Which is interesting because, I think we talked about this when we talked about the first two episodes. Bo is like, kind of almost like she starts the season as like very much a non-believer in these traditions, and now like with joining the Children of the Watch, she's very much pivoted the other way, and she like had this moment. I think this is what really turned her around was seeing the mythosaur, and like she tries to tell these people who were like super traditional and like she's trying to fit in with them, be like, I saw the mythosaur, like isn't that awesome? And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, sure. Like,
Or
and you
like any
totally saw a
information, do you
mythosaur.
guys want to go back maybe to see
Right.
it? Like
Um,
any
so
input?
I'm really excited for Bo's story in these coming episodes.
Yeah.
Um,
I
it's gonna be
liked when
interesting to
she
see.
asked about the mythosaur. Like
Yeah.
when she's like, "Can I have a mythosaur?" Cuz she wants to still be respectful and she like I'm assuming like hasn't been able to do like traditional things like have to make her armor again, like have it get forged again. So I like that the armorer is like, yeah, the mythosaur is for every Mandalorian. I thought that was cool.
Yes.
Because
Um,
they could get their own animal from like their adventures and like their triumphs, but the mythosaur is always for them.
mhm. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see Bo continue to grapple with tradition and her, maybe start to come into herself as a leader again. Excuse me. And yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm really excited. I'm excited for more Grogu flashbacks. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for Din. This is his show. I can't think of too much I'm particularly excited for with him right now. But
I
he's
think
great.
it's
I like when
payback.
he's there. I like when he does stuff. He's nice to hang out with.
Justice for Boba Fett. I think it's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, good point. Good point. Um,
But yeah.
yeah, maybe we'll see Boba this season again. Boba's cool. We like Boba.
Mm-hmm. Let's
I'd
steal
like to
one or two
see,
episodes.
yeah, Boba just shows up for an episode. Just another Boba episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's just fair. Um,
Fair's fair.
yeah. I would be curious to see Bo talk to Boba now compared to when they last talked at the end of season two,
Mm-hmm.
because her worldview has been shifted so much so rapidly, and seeing her have a conversation with him again, I'd just be curious to how that would play out. Um, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Boba's always cool. He is the OG Mandalorian, I guess. So,
Mm-hmm.
cool to have him around. We love Boba. We love Tamara Morrison. We love Fennec Shand. She can come too.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's Mando. I think we about covered it. Um,
Yeah.
do we want to talk about Bad Batch?
Sure.
Okay, we have one
Let's
episode of
do
Bad
it.
Batch to talk about before the finale this week.
Yes. Let's do it so that way we
Exciting
can
stuff.
just talk finale next time.
Yes.
Good finale.
Um, super exciting stuff. So, tipping point. Really good.
I can talk
Um,
about it.
yes, now I'm caught up to you. Uh, yes. I really like tipping point. Um, a lot of good setup for
Mhm.
I think where we're going to go. Good tying in of stuff from earlier in the season all together, and just some really good stuff. A bit of a I don't want to say a slower episode, but it wasn't like it was clearly setting up the big action for the finale. It was the tipping point, as one might say.
Mhm.
So very excited.
Perhaps.
Yes. Do you want to talk about it? You ready? Do you have any spoiler free
Yes.
thoughts?
Ready.
Ready. Okay. So we see some clones in a prison little cell being taken to somewhere on a ship. And one of the clones is
Imprisoned,
Hauser!
imprisoned.
Imprisoned. One of the clones is Hauser!
Yes.
Our boy Hauser, Hera's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
I was so happy to see him, and he maintained his haircut in jail. That's, good for him.
And survived.
Yeah, and he's alive, that too.
Yeah.
But he
The
maintained
important thing is he's alive.
He's got the drip still.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're imprisoned, and then so we have the ship gets attacked by Gregor and Echo, along with some other clones from General Grease. They had the markings of General Grease division. So they escaped Yoda's headshot on Kashyyyk. Good for them. Yes, so they, basically break into the ship, free Hauser and the others, take over, take out the stormtroopers. They get to the captain and they're like, "You have to tell us like where the ship is going." But the captain like bites down on one of those thingies. Those things are so annoying, man.
Yeah.
It's like all the time now. Yeah, so Echo is trying to get data from their thing, which they had already started wiping, and they end up having to cut it short because they have to leave because there are reinforcements coming.
Mm-hmm.
So they take
Yeah.
off, and yes, we also go back to Mount Tantus. Crosshair is still imprisoned in prison. He is so we see some of the other prisoners in his cell block, and there's a lot of other clones, which is interesting.
I like seeing him again. Also,
Yes.
I'm like trying to, cause I haven't watched it in a while, but I was like, oh, I'll just go to my dad's notes, and I forgot my dad's notes. He forgot to take pictures, so it's just capture clones en route to ... somewhere ...
I'm on Wikipedia.
ambush by clones to rescue them. Gregor, Rex, Echo.
I'm on Wikipedia. That's my ultimate source. And
Yes.
you know what? Clean feed Wikipedia combo does not run my laptop fan, where Zoom Wikipedia combo did. So this is good.
Yeah, if I look up things while I'm on clean feed, it goes.
Oh, really?
Sometimes, yeah.
Interesting.
Zoom doesn't.
Interesting.
It's okay.
Yeah, well, so we have creepy Mr. Hemlock back, and he's like torturing Crosshair. He's like, "Come on, like you gotta tell us where the Bad Batch is." And he's like, "I don't know, man. Also, they're not gonna just give you Omega. Like, trust me on that." But Hemlock is like, "Well, Omega's Imperial property." It's like that's not it's not what he said.
Yeah.
He said they're not gonna give them to you, whether or not she's Imperial property is not the argument here. Although she's not, but that's not what Crosshair said. So he's like, "Come on, just tell us where the Bad Batch is, and we'll give you your freedom." And he's like, "I don't know." And they just don't believe him.
I think, yeah, like later on we know that he has like their phone number, but like, how is he supposed to know where they are? You know, I don't know.
Right.
Just,
It's
like,
I guess the Empire's like,
feels...
well, if you shot an officer, maybe you've been in league with them the whole time.
Yeah,
they don't know
true.
the drama. They don't know the drama.
They don't know that he's been abandoned.
Yeah. So they get interrupted basically. The torture gets interrupted because the one guy comes in. He's like, "Hey, our ship was attacked. That was coming here." And so they're like, "Oh crap!" Because like no one can know about this little mountain base. This is a top secret mountain base.
Yes. Where I'm assuming all the cloning and stuff is done.
Yeah, there's like cloning stuff going on. It's a big mountain. They probably have a lot. They have
just a lot of
this is the
secret
cloning
Imperial
section.
things.
That's the like people frying section. There's a disintegration unit. We got the like torture innovators over here. That's HR. they've got like so many different departments. Um, yeah. So after that, we actually go back to Coruscant, and we see Echo and Gregor bringing Hauser and the other clones back to the Martez repair shop, which has basically become a clone refugee base of operations. Which
Yeah.
Coruscant seems like not the best place for that. Maybe.
I mean,
Um,
hiding in plain sight, maybe?
I guess. I
Question
mean,
mark.
Coruscant's very big, very, there's a lot going on.
As
So
you can
you're right.
tell, they passed the peak of the mountain. I think there's
Yes.
plenty of places to hide. Especially like
um,
underground there,
yeah.
where like
So,
everyone is a criminal.
yes, we're in the Marta sisters' place. I want to see them. I
Yeah,
want
like
my
that would be
sisters.
cool.
What are they doing? How are they, like, did they know that their shop has become this? Like, it's just funny. Um, yeah, but Chuchi is back. Chuchi is helping them, so Chuchi's like fully in it now. She's like very
Yeah,
much in with these. She's
which
breaking the
I'm
law.
glad to
She's doing it
see.
all. What?
I'm glad to see. I think it's
Yes.
good. Like she's sticking with her word. She's not just like being like, I totally trust and like support you guys, and then
Yeah.
like going away.
Well,
Not like
and she's
uh,
going that extra mile of like,
she's
where we
very
see a
much
lot of
like
other rebel senators doing of like, this
yeah.
could end me, but it's important. Which, by the way, I
She
started
reminds
reading Jedi
me
Battle
of
Scars, and there's a line from like an Alderaanian guy. This is like, early Empire, and he's like, "Yeah, I left Alderaan because that Senator Organa, he's never going to stand up to the Empire." And I'm like, "Oh, if only you knew.
yeah.
If only you knew."
She reminds
Um,
me in that aspect like Mothma or
mhm.
like, Leia, like, because Mothma, like, is, senator, is like doing these things, leading very, like, politically and strategically, but also, there's people like Leia who will, like, be like, yeah, I'm part of the mission, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's cool.
Yeah, and I hope we see more stories of her playing a role in the rebellion in the future. With characters like Mothma and Leia, because I think I like her a lot. She's cool.
Yes. I like her
um,
outfits.
yes, so
Very slay.
they're helping the clones, gonna help them get to somewhere safe. Um, and they're meanwhile Echo is trying to figure out like, where are they taking these guys? Like, they were in prison for questioning Imperial orders. Like, frankly, like, why did they kill them? And like trying to
Why are
figure
they
this out.
imprisoned in prison?
It's like, where was that ship going? Like, that was so, like, why was it so secret where that ship was going, that this guy, you know, the officer guy killed himself to not tell him, like, what's going on.
Hmm.
So they can't break the code on the data, but Echo's like, I know someone who can. I
Hmm.
wonder who that is. No idea. We go back to the mountain then. Um, the girl scientist lady, Car, her name is. She actually like disconnects the little torturing thing, and one of the stormtroopers is like, "Hey, he didn't talk yet." And she's like, "Well, he can't talk if he's dead."
Hmm.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Uh,
They're like, yeah, that's true, that's true.
um. So when she does that, she like turns around, like, get on the computer thing, and Crosshair, because he has a little wiggle room with one of his arms, manages to pull a blaster from one of the stormtroopers and shoots them.
Hmm.
He then holds Car at gunpoint while strapped to a table, which honestly very impressive to be intimidating while strapped to a table.
Yeah.
Like, major props.
Hmm.
He forces her to unstrap him basically from the table, and he gets up and stuns her. And then
Yeah. Which she
he,
kind of warns him that, like, there is no escape.
yeah,
And she
I
doesn't
don't,
try to,
I
like,
don't think he
attack
was
him or
trying to
anything.
escape. Is the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like, "You can't escape." He's like, "Okay, stun." And so
Yeah.
he's like so messed up from
Yeah. I
the
mean, I can
the
imagine he's
tortury
probably
stuff.
been tortured
He
for
was like
hours.
injected with something. I don't know. He's like kind of fallen. He like misses a few shots at close range,
Hmm.
which is the first time we've seen him do that. Like, that's how messed up he is. But he's still crosshair, so he still manages to take out a bunch of troopers, and he gets to the communication terminal, and he goes on the Bad Batches. It's like one of their old channels, they say, like on their one of their old comm channels, and he says Plan 88, and he tries to warn them, but then the room gets flooded with this like toxin.
Yeah, it's just
He
like a
collapses.
toxic gas
Yeah.
that like Dr. Hemlock comes in and is like, yeah, I've been building up an immunity to this.
Yeah, because
Which
that's
is horrifying.
crazy.
Yeah, he's so awful.
He's like, oh, I created this toxin and I built up an immunity to it, but you didn't. Ha ha ha
Yeah.
ha. He's so mad scientist.
Lame-o.
And then Crosshair goes unconscious. Back to Pabu. Oh, Pabu, it's so nice. They're like building the docks. They're like hanging out. You know, stuff's great. And then Echo comes to visit, and he brings the thing. And he has Tech. Oh, and Omega runs up and hugs Echo. It's so cute.
Yeah, that was sweet. I like that she's learning how to drive, and she does the Tech turn.
That was amazing. Her flying lesson with Tech. That was such a great scene. I really appreciate that.
And she races Echo back.
Yeah, I feel like season 1 focused so much on Omega and Hunter and Omega and Wrecker, and we still got that this season. We got more focus too on Omega and Tech and Omega and Echo, and I really enjoyed that about this season. Yes, Omega runs up and hugs Tech, and he's not crazy about her flying, but she, oh darn it, I keep knocking these out of my ears. And yeah, so Echo brings the data stick to Tech, and it's like, we need to figure out what's happening. They're carrying clone prisoners, and we don't know where they're taking them. Okay, back to the mountain. Oh my gosh, we're jumping all around this episode. I didn't realize how much we jumped around.
Yeah.
Hemlock is talking to Tarkin. They're like, ugh, that guy.
The two worst people right now.
And Hemlock is like, don't worry, Tarkin. Like, it doesn't matter that we lost that ship. Like, no one, like, they're not gonna figure out where we are or what we're doing. So Tarkin's like, I'm gonna blow you up just like I blew up Camino. This isn't gonna be a problem. He doesn't say that, but you can tell he's thinking it.
Yeah. Whatever they're working on, not good.
Yeah. Tarkin also mentions like he's worried about rogue clones questioning Imperial orders. And Hemlock is like, well, we can't just kill every clone that questions the order, but if you let me like do my crazy experiments on them, that's cool.
Yeah.
So
I would so appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that happens. So that's a thing. I think it's interesting because we went to Mount Tantus last season too. So like the Bad Batch, like it's already been a little bit compromised. But yeah, interesting. Back to Pabu. Echo and Hunter have a little conversation, and he's like, "Are you really gonna stay here forever? Like, is this going to be your life now?" We see Wrecker playing with Omega and Liana. It's so cute. And Hunter's like, "Well, I mean, we can't just fight forever. Like, we're gonna, get old." And Echo's very like, "We can fight forever." So it's an interesting clash that we've been seeing for most of the season. Then Tech, he cracks the code, so he figures out the ship was Science Division, which is like doesn't have any records, like is really like almost doesn't exist, but they do know that Hemlock is the guy in charge of it right now. So like that's it. They also say Hemlock was expelled from the Republic Science Corps for unauthorized and unorthodox experiments. Which
the Empire was like, I like that.
I know,
sounds
the Republic
cool.
is like, this guy's really messed up. Like, we can't let him do any more science. And the Empire's like, hey, I heard this guy does science.
That sounds great.
Yeah. So they don't know why, but this guy is getting Hemlock is getting the clone prisoners. And they're like, huh, that's weird. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Um, he also mentioned on the records, because one record he does find is lists of the clones that have been handed over to the science division, and Crosshair is one of them. And Wrecker's like kind of happy. He's like, oh, Crosshair turned against the Empire. Like he's excited at the idea of getting Crosshair back, which is sweet. Hunter does not trust it at all, because we know Hunter is a little bit paranoid, although it's not without basis.
Yeah.
um, here, but yeah. So
They definitely have reason to not trust it, but
mhm.
also it's one of those things where like it's it's almost like he's asking for help, but maybe
Yeah,
he's not. Maybe it's more of like a warning of things to happen.
I think it is a warning, because so the message that they get is Plan 88, the Seeker, is what they hear from Crosshair. So
Yeah.
Tech is like Crosshair's warning us. I don't know what Plan 88 is. Since it's the Seeker, I assume it's that someone is seeking them, just because that's what makes sense in the context of
Yeah.
Crosshair trying to warn them that they're looking for Omega. Um, but Hunter still thinks it's a trap. They're
Which I
very
don't know how it would be a trap
yeah,
because it's telling you, hey, someone's coming for you. Like, it's not
that's a trap.
like, meet me here. Like,
Yeah, I
it's,
just think Hunter. I think he still holds a bit of a personal grudge. I think he still feels betrayed by Crosshair. And also,
fair.
I mean, we've known since the beginning, Hunter is, he's not trusting. Like I said, he's a bit paranoid. So, like, I think Hunter is just like, Crosshair, trap. Don't trust it.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what it is.
Hmm.
And he's having, I think he's having a more emotional response to it than a logical one. Like maybe Tech is, when Tech is like, oh, he's warning us, you know? So, yeah. So we go back, we end with Crosshair back to that table. They put extra straps on his arms. And they are torturing poor Crosshair. He had tears in his eyes at the end. It was very sad.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was Tipping Point. It was really good. I'm really excited for where we're
Yeah.
gonna go.
Like you said, it's the perfect lead up for this finale.
Yes. Yes.
I'm
So our
really
next
hoping that everything stays away from Pabu though. Like they
I
go
know.
off and do
Well, I
things.
now everyone's saying Pabu, I'm scared. And now I'm scared.
Yes.
Um yeah, so
Yeah.
our next two episodes, our finale episodes this week, we're doing two this week, are the summit, presumably a mountain summit, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. Could also be like a meeting kind of summit. Maybe it's a summit at the summit. Meeting at the mountain.
Hmm.
And also
Boom.
Plan 99. So whatever Plan 99 is, that's terrifying.
88 to
Um,
99.
yeah, 88. If 88's the seeker, I wonder if 99 is the rescue mission, or
Maybe we're seeking you.
yeah, the seeker
Uno
and the
reverse. We're
seekie.
seeking.
Um, yeah. So that's terrifying. I'm really excited for this finale. Um, I'm scared. But we'll see. Um, how it all ends up this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's really it.
Yeah. Well,
Um, so,
hopefully,
Star Wars
so
Geek
our,
Girl, we are going to be
oh,
on the podcast, or I'm going to be on the podcast stage at Celebration London, or
I'm going to
Celebration Europe,
attempt.
or 10. We'll see what we can do with technology and heading across the pond.
It's
Um,
better than planets.
yes,
So,
yes. Yeah, so Saturday, April 8th at 1 p.m. if you're at Celebration. 1 p.m. London time. Oh, wherever you are, if you're not there, it's a time. Tentatively joined by Matt Martin, which is super cool because
oh,
I've
nice.
known Matt for a little while now, but I don't think I've podcasted with him. So that'll be
Nice.
fun. Yes. You can also go to StarWarsGeeker.com for blog articles and polls and quizzes and all sorts of things. Twitter and Instagram are at SWGeekGirl, and the Facebook page is Star Wars Geek Girl.
For the Rogue Rebels, you have theroguerebels.com, Instagram and TikTok at The Rogue Rebels, Twitch at Rogue Rebels, podcast wherever you're listening to Star Wars Geek Girl, Facebook page The Rogue Rebels, and Twitter at Rogue Rebels Fam.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. I was Zoe.
I was Lizzy.
May the Force be with you, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Star Wars Geek Girls. They're geek girls that like Star Wars. And sometimes cry.